back to Q&A with S&A. I'm Andrea.
And I'm Shane.
And today we have the absolute pleasure of talking tech and all things that excite Shane, shiny magpie that he is, that he wants to poke at the tech, about all of the fun stuff that Matt does as his in his role as founder and managing director of QAMBA. Did I pronounce that correctly? Because I know there's a few iterations that go around the office.
Yeah, there is. That's the most common.
QAMBA.
Is it the correct one though?
QAMBA.
How do you say it?
Yeah, QAMBA.
QAMBA.
Yeah.
Awesome. QAMBA are our entry group IT managed service providers, and we love the guys at QAMBA. They're our favourite. We've got our little QAMBA bot on our teams, and everyone, when they're having a good time with tech, love the team at QAMBA. When they're having a bad time, sometimes I hear expletives around the office around QAMBA, but not very often.
No, it's not about QAMBA. It's about the tech, not QAMBA.
No, well, that is it. It's about the tech. Matt, tell us a little bit about QAMBA for starters and how you became the founder and managing director of an IT company.
Right, that's a long tail.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's okay. We've got plenty of time.
Right. So I guess I started in IT a long time ago, but from a working perspective, started working in consultancy, working with small and medium businesses, but it was at a time where you'd be going in and you'd work with a client and you'd just be billing the time and you'd be sitting there billing time.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where that wasn't really resonating with me anymore because we got all the things fixed and then we're just waiting around for something to happen. So an opportunity came up for me to work with somebody that was making that transition to what's now very commonly known as managed IT in around 2008. And I that just resonated really highly with me about that way where you can keep improving things and you don't have to be sitting around waiting. So
less about the putting out spot fires for people and more about giving them strategic options to move forward with business development, really.
Yeah, that's right. So being able to just go and do those things without having to talk about it so much really was just that practical element to it really resonated with me. So, yeah.
Most people think of managed IT as you call a 1-800 number or something and then someone's on the end of that line and the first thing they say to you is, have you turned it off and on again?
Yes.
Does that happen often at QAMBA that you'll say that to somebody and they'll say, oh, yeah, I didn't think of that? That's still a thing these days?
It's still a thing. Yeah, it's still a thing. And I must admit, this morning there's obviously a lot going on with the Telstra outage.
Oh, yeah.
Good point. Yeah.
And I had some challenges with my own NBN, not on Telstra, but it took me about 5 or 10 minutes to realise I should just reboot to see if I fixed it. So it happens to everyone.
The plumber's pipes.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. The builder's half-finished house.
Yeah.
Because the thing that always comes to my mind with that is, one, I kick something because that'll help fix it.
Smack it.
But Zoolander.
Yeah.
Do you the movie Zoolander?
It's been a while.
Okay. Then it's an old Apple Mac and the
ones with the coloured when they had the
and
big
the models. The models, they didn't know how to turn it on or how to open it. It was just hilarious. Now, it's not great without seeing the scene,
the visual.
But it's actually, I just think of that and how they're tapping and banging and turning. And
then they turn in, they go, ooh, 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 like they're cavemen and they're trying to hit it because they can't work it.
Yeah, but that's the same thing back when in the Nintendo days, we used to take the cartridge out and you blow it to get it to work.
Yeah.
Showing my age.
So QAMBA, so where does the name come from? Or what does it mean? Or does it mean anything?
It does, yeah. So we rebranded in 2021 to QAMBA. And it came from, it means create or innovate in another language. So our thought when we were rebranding was to try and find something with a very short domain name.
Yes, good point.
So we were using Google Translate to find something that resonated, that unique. So that's what we came up with.
Yeah, awesome. That's very cool. Technology has changed so much in the time that we've been in business, like 21 years, and we still sit back and think about the first document management system that we had, and then even before that, when people using Windows Explorer, and you'd create all the folders and you'd drop things into all of that, and You've just come back from a US trip where obviously they are at the forefront of all things that are going on, AI related and tech related. You've had plenty of time in the industry as well. What are the biggest things that you saw in that time that you've been away, and how do you think that that's going to impact? Because you've got, lots of small business clients. You work with clients like us. So you're not just thinking about tech as in how can I help my own business run tech, but you're thinking about how to run our tech for us. What are the things that you saw when you were on that trip?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think going to the US, they tend to be a little bit further ahead of where we're at in multiple ways. And I was fortunate to sit in a room with some people from both the US and EMEA as well, to learn a little bit about what they're doing. And one of the things I realized is that we're not as far behind as we think.
Yeah,
okay. We think that we are.
Okay.
And there's still plenty more to come.
Yep.
So I think we're right in maybe a bit of the eye of the storm.
Okay.
And everybody's at a different stage of it as well. So there's plenty to come.
Yeah, but it's more about the agentic type or AI agentic things. And obviously, I'm trying to get the lingo and I just can't. I know I am trying to use buzzwords, but it's not working. But yeah, more down that path. Is that the main lead?
Agentic seems to be what people are talking about, and that just means it's an AI brain that has a set of instructions, so that it's doing something repetitively. The way that you can use the tech will vary depending on the business. So some businesses aren't ready to use it yet.
Yeah.
And trying to meet, I think one of the key things I took away was trying to meet the business where it's at now. And not trying to skip ahead to what the broader community is talking about and saying you need agents or you need to be agentic.
Yeah.
So trying to just find that value point.
Yeah. If you were to give an organisation a tip on how to manage their IT going forward, because all of this stuff is happening, and if they're, let's say that they're right down the bottom of the tree of where you would want a client to be, for instance, like they're still working on a server in the office, they're still using desktop based programs and stuff like that. There are still businesses out there that do that.
There are, yeah.
How do you see that that's going to really impact them, and what small steps are you giving them to say, let's start with this part, because you can't be doing anything with agentic AI if you're still working off a server and people are dialing into your VPN kind of thing. So
yeah, I think you need to take the steps towards what best practice looks like, and that's both in a technical sense but also in a business operational perspective. So you've got to want to be able to take that journey as well. I mean, there's probably a reason why those businesses are still running on a server, because they feel comfortable with it. Yeah. And it's probably the fear of the unknown of what's coming. So having a good partner to work with, the business having the appetite to make those changes and to come along with them is super important. And we're seeing a lot more being driven from legislation that's coming in now about what you need to do. And it gets a lot harder to do it on those older systems than turning on things in cloud systems. Yeah. There's also the other aspect that you're owning all the risk. If you are using a software provider, they're sharing that risk with you. And you're expecting them to provide a certain level of security and compliance with that platform. Yeah,
that makes sense. From a small business perspective, Google or Microsoft?
You can't. That's
I thought we were very black brand names.
Of course we are. We have to, because people need to know this sort of stuff. If you were going into, if someone came to you and said, I'm about to set up my own business, I'm going to throw Matt under the bus here. I know what he's going to say. I'm going to set up my small business. These are the things that I need to be able to do. If you were going to give them a recommendation on which way they should go, from the perspective of what's the safest, what's the easiest, what's the most simple best practice, what would you be saying to them?
Can we put a disclaimer on that first to say this is general advice only and shouldn't be relied upon?
All of our podcast episodes say that.
Yes. Look, mine would be Microsoft.
Yeah.
Our business runs on Microsoft, and we only service clients that work on Microsoft.
Yeah.
And the reason is the two big platforms in Microsoft and Google are big enough that you need to be an expert in that.
Yeah.
So whilst we could do it well, we can't do it very well like we want to. So our thought is Microsoft, but if you have a good partner with you and it meets the requirements, then there's nothing wrong with Google as well.
Yeah. And
so I'm going to sit in the middle on it.
No, of course. And I guess, from that perspective, what I wanted to draw attention to was that there's no right or wrong. It's a preference thing. You will find someone who is a really good expert in Google and can help you along the way there. But don't expect your IT provider to say, I'm going to be able to provide expert advice in both necessarily, unless they've got two separate arms of their business that says one works with one and the other.
Yeah.
But from the perspective of how you work it, because most people will then sit down and go, oh, but Microsoft is so expensive. Like, how can I afford to set up my small business on Microsoft? When you work with someone like you guys with managed IT services, we're getting the best of what we can possibly access to, right? Like, you've got access to things that I can't just go into Officeworks and buy a subscription. I can, but if I'm going to work with Matt, he's going to say, these are some really good things for you to think about.
Yeah, and Microsoft is really confusing in that space because they've got their personal side of the fence and then they've got the business side.
Yeah, why can't I just buy an off-the-shelf laptop and plug it into my business stuff, Matt? Why can't I do that?
Yeah, and
that's what we say to you all the time too. Shane's just gone to JB Hi-Fi and there was a special on something. Can we just plug that into the system? And Matt's just shaking his head, going, "Oh no."
And I understand. I get that a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And the short answer is if you want to get to the destination of operating that way that you are, there's a gap there that needs to be closed.
Yeah.
And whilst it's technically possible, is it the quickest, easiest time? Like when you add up the cost difference, the time difference, you put it all together. Yeah, that's where we try to create that value balance.
Yeah.
And also there's so much within, like, for instance, the Microsoft sphere in terms of services or add-ons within the software that we don't tap into either. So it's about trying to enhance or get the value out of all those features that are available.
Yeah, there's a huge amount to the platform, and you can go and procure different solutions that are best in class, but Microsoft has something for just about everything that does it 80% of the way there. So if you need to start with a business problem you need to solve, that potentially is something there to look at.
And that's the other thing too with it, like best of breed. We always want to get the best of breed of each software, but then you've got your app stack. Your app stack, is that another lingo thing? It's then you've got 30 different applications, and how do they all then integrate or talk to each other? And are you creating more layers of complexity and administration to manage those different stacks?
Have you got a client like Andrea who's calling one of Matt's great offsiders, Ben, and saying, I just want this one to talk to this one so that I can get this out of it? And Ben's just looking at me going,
are we getting there with that? With with technology advances, is it all about open source though, and whether people are sharing their
access?
Their access.
Open architecture is becoming more common, and it's also something that should be a question when you're looking at a product in any sphere. Is can I get, because ultimately the business owns the data.
Yeah.
The platform shouldn't own the data. And that's where reading T's and C's is really important as well, as who owns that data.
Yeah.
If you take Microsoft for an example, they'll say, we don't back up your data. You need to look after that. That's in their EULA.
Yeah.
So that's where you need to be very careful.
Yeah. And going on to that as well, reading the T's and C's, one of the really great benefits of working with an organisation like QAMBA is that I can send you my due diligence info on a piece of software or an app that I might want to, and you will spend the time, not I say you as in the royal you, QAMBA, the team there, will spend the time looking at that and coming back to me and saying, there's some problems here and let's, resolve them. So I'm not on my own with that. And I think if I can commend the idea of IT managed services to people, even if they're really small businesses, you cannot be an expert in those sorts of things with software licensing and what is and isn't part of the deal. So
also the data sharing, the data sharing arrangements and so on, and where this data is stored as well.
Yeah, and we're not experts on all of those things either, but we know where to look.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I know we talk about managed services quite a bit, but we're sort of reframing ourselves more as technology solutions partners.
Yeah.
Like we're trying to help businesses with solutions that they need in a partnership.
Yeah, yeah.
And everybody has varying levels of that. But there's a lot in the technology space, more so that now IT is not a department. It generally sits across an entire organization, and it has little parts into each aspect.
Yeah,
With apps and data and those sorts of things.
Yeah.
Seeing you doing comparisons, and you probably answered this by saying Microsoft before, Apple versus Microsoft or Windows?
Don't answer that one. That is a loaded question.
They're all loaded questions. They're all loaded questions.
I've got another one as well, which you know about. Yeah.
That is a very, very loaded question.
Yeah.
Matt is going to firmly sit on the fence and say, it depends.
If you're running a business, I think Microsoft is easier to get what you need. But I think we're a pretty big advocate of making sure people can work effectively and making sure things work. There's a balance there. And if that's a trade-off that somebody wants to take, then that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I think as someone who is a Mac user sitting next to someone who is very firmly a PC user, those conversations are pretty common in our space. And funnily, we will sit there in an office environment and someone will be complaining about something not working or something not plugging in the way it needs to do, and it is rarely me. So that's where that one lies.
I just have a high expectation, that's all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Matt, we've talked about managed IT services as opposed to technology partner. What I think you do differently to a lot of other small businesses and potentially software providers, although I'm not, super familiar. You guys have been our backbone of our IT for a long time, so I haven't had the dubious unpleasure of dealing with other IT providers for a long time. But you do things a bit differently because you are spending a lot of time in people's businesses and making sure that they do have the right solutions. What part of that about building a community around that is so important to you, and why did you decide to do it that way? Because it's not a typical IT provider type thing to create community and to bring people together.
Yeah, I think when we started the business, I had the fortunate position to work where I was, where we were using a thing called the EOS to run the business. And one of the things that has is the vision page of the business, and you set your vision and what you want to be. And when we set that up for QAMBA, and it still is to this day, is having the freedom to work with who we want, when we want, and how we want. And that was been the key thing that we decided very early, and we've made decisions based on that. So I think ultimately we just want to work with people and businesses that are enjoyable to work with, that we don't have friction with, and that we're on the same page with. So, and the reason for that is it's just easier.
Yeah.
It allows us to focus on the business outcomes, the technology outcomes. That's ultimately what most people, we think, want anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. You're also involved in a bunch of networking groups, which again, I think is very highly unusual from an IT perspective, because IT people typically get branded in the same way as accountants and lawyers and stuff.
I was waiting for that, yeah.
It's pretty typical that, no, they're pretty reserved. They don't necessarily like to put themselves out there in the world.
Very
but
true.
You do. So again, what have you had to overcome in your own personality, for instance? Because I know Shane also doesn't mind going out there, but then he'll come home and say, okay, I'm all peopled out. I'm imagining that you might do the same sort of thing and say, I'm peopled out for today. But what motivates you to do that stuff, other than, you want people to know everything that they can? But.
Yeah, I think the way you pose that question seems like I've got it figured out, and I definitely don't. I want to be clear about that, but I think it's just trying to understand how we can best help everyone. I think that we've always worked with small business. We could potentially do work with larger business, but I think that the the politics and decision making and the long tail of that is not where we sit. So small and medium business is where our heart is, and just trying to help uplift. And I think in some of the IT communities that I'm part of, we talk about the rising tide lifts all boats. And I think that the community itself is very much orientated that way.
Yeah.
And that feels good to be able to be part of that and support that lift.
Yeah. You've just started your own QAMBA networking type thing as well, which I know is a very exclusive thing at the moment. But and we came along to it, Shane and I were lucky enough to come along to the first breakfast. So thank you for inviting us. It was really good to sit around a table with people who had very different stories to tell about where they are at in their IT and business lives. Again, what's the motivation behind that? Because I'm pretty sure that there are not a lot of technology partners out there organising clients to come together around a breakfast table or a lunch table or something. What are you sitting there when you decide to do those things? What's the motivation behind that?
I think that we know tech pretty well, but what we don't know is what everybody's problems are, and I think just fostering that conversation helps to. I think it helps everyone, and again, just everybody that comes, I think, hopefully gets value from it.
Yeah.
Because that's our goal, and that's what we enjoy doing from that. So we've run a couple of events. We've run a couple of this one now, this series, and the feedback's always been that was really great for either the topic or a particular thing or a venue even.
Yeah.
That's been memorable, and we're still having things mentioned from our one in November last year that you presented with us on, which it's still getting mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, you give people a gin tasting as part of an IT conversation, and again, it's like it's an unusual situation, isn't it? You're giving people an experience around IT conversations and access to people that they wouldn't necessarily always have access to. Like you had someone there that was a Microsoft expert or something, right? Like we don't get access to that sort of stuff as small business owners. Like that, is pretty cool to be able to do that for the group of people that came around. And you gave us gin.
Yeah.
And cheese platters as well.
No, it was a great setup. I think we feel lucky that we have access to some of those people, and sometimes we don't understand the knowledge that we have and or could share with everybody. So we're just trying to figure out what that looks like so that we can make that and close that gap a little bit more, because technology is ingrained in all businesses and even our lives now. So being able to, I guess, close that gap makes it easier for everyone.
Yeah, I agree.
But I can't take too much credit for the events. Most of that is Kate's doing. And she does a great job of finding those and setting them up. And I'm really excited with the one that we've got coming up as well. So it's going to be really good.
I think, Kate certainly brings an element to IT services that, again, most...
She described it as personality, and it's hard to disagree with her.
I think she's probably right, and I think Kate loves a bit of a network as well, doesn't she? Like she's a very much a people person, so it's great to have her on the team too. She does add an element of making sure that everybody keeps on track with stuff as well, which I think is really important. So for the people listening to the podcast today, you'll find Kate and Matt and the QAMBA team on social media and on LinkedIn, so you can find them. And if anyone is interested in connecting, we'll share the details as part of the podcast marketing anyway. So that's always something that is cool to do.
Now, back to software technology companies, we've got a very small concentration of big players in the market: Microsoft, Google, Anthropic, ChatGPT, whatever the case may be. Do you see that staying that way? Do you see that there's going to be other players, or are they just going to be fringe players, or do you think there's more to come in terms of diversification of providers, etc.?
Yeah, I think we kind of need to focus in on maybe just AI on that topic, because it's probably the most topic. I feel like Anthropic's come from a long way behind and shot past a lot of people, but their market share still isn't highest because OpenAI with ChatGPT were very early on.
Yeah.
But I think that is changing. We're seeing the top 5 is changing, and it will continue to do so.
Yeah.
Microsoft will always play catch up, and we saw it with probably Zoom during COVID.
Yeah.
And then Teams wasn't that great, and slowly it's been getting better, and it almost becomes a no-brainer where we don't have too many Zoom subscriptions floating around now. So I think it will continue to change, and there's lots of factors that are going to make up what that looks like. It's going to be political factors, which we've seen with certain models getting taken away.
Yes, Claude.
Yep. So that's going to change things. There's acquisitions, there's capacity, there's the hardware at the moment and the scarcity around that, which we're probably seeing computer prices jump up. I think Apple announced 25% a week ago that their stuff's going up 25%. So there's all those knock-on effects, but it will continue to change. But Google, Microsoft, Meta, Anthropic are all probably the ones that are keeping pace with it.
Yeah. From a personal perspective with regard to the way business operates and the decision making that it is around, we're Microsoft, and do we use Microsoft products for those things, or do we jump over and use something else? And, you and I and Ben and Julie have had so many conversations over the last even 6 weeks around what is the best platform to use and what do we roll out to the team, and if we were doing something differently, what would we do it and how are we going to do it? And there's just so much going on in the space, and we will have a conversation about something and then 3 weeks later you'll say, oh, actually now it can do this. And I think it's a really hard place to be in as a business owner to have to.
Yeah, do you have to choose?
Like,
do you have to make a choice and commit to it?
We're just going to, have a finger in all the pies.
Yeah, and I think that it probably comes back to the question around Microsoft and Google earlier is how do you do both really well? And I think we're in a discovery phase at the moment, and I'm comfortable that we just need to be using all of the things in order to understand them, but they are also changing very quickly. I think with the models that are coming out in AI, if you thought something wasn't good 3 months ago, you need to go try it again. And we can't just get stuck into it didn't work. I'm not using that again. And that fluidity is changing how we need to think about applications and data management and all those sorts of things.
Because we, when we first asked you to add us to a Copilot subscription to our Microsoft accounts, and we only had, Shane and I were the first ones to use it, we were both using it going, it doesn't cut it, like, compared to the other systems. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, Copilot can now do this. Where 3 weeks ago it could not do that, and now we're using it much more significantly for producing spreadsheets and complicated sort of stuff. Whereas it's not just, I want to organize a spreadsheet. It's full on. You can say to it, I want to be able to do this and this and this and this and this, and it just spits out the spreadsheet, and I don't have to spend any time on it. And I'm not an Excel user, but I can create a complicated spreadsheet from using Copilot, which 6 months ago I probably would not have been able to do that. And it is moving so fast, and you are like, I'll send you guys a message and you're like, just settle down, it'll come, in a few weeks time it's going to happen.
Well, how many subscriptions do you have to all that? And how do you keep across it all? Because like us and a whole bunch of other clients, I'm sure, are saying, oh, I've seen this. What do you think of this?
Yeah.
And does that mean you then sign up to it and give it a demo or whatever and give it a try?
It can be, Like when I bought that note recorder that after speaking with Shane, I've got one of those now, and I use that every now and then. I think the Microsoft has changed a lot. So we just rolled out Microsoft Copilot across the whole team, having not had it for more than 3 months myself. Because as you said, it wasn't quite there. We didn't really make the jump yet. Because we wanted to see where that landed. But the way that you work has to change to use that platform. You're changing how you're operating, which is a really hard thing to do because if you know that you do something this way and it gets the outcome you want, you know that if there's comfort in that.
Yeah.
So it's the change there. But to answer the question, I've got an Anthropic.
Yeah.
We're an Anthropic partner now. So we've got that.
Just remind me to talk to you about that because we've got subscriptions we can probably transfer.
Yeah, and that's a developing space for them as well. And so we've got Copilot Studio across the team, and then a select few have Anthropic subscriptions as well, because we need to be able to understand what that's doing. But also I'm using Claude a lot to build things for our team.
Yeah, it is super cool for that.
Fast track some of that stuff. And I found that it's been able to, it's been a blessing and a curse, because now your limits have extended. You can get sucked into things that are actually giving you value.
Yeah, exactly.
That has been a realization recently.
Like saving yourself time by automating something using Claude that would only have taken you 10 seconds is not really worthwhile. You spend 16 hours on, development. And that's, I guess that's where you would come along and say to a business like, okay, why would we do this sort of stuff? And the conversations come back to automating the highest value tasks.
There's got to be a return on investment.
The lowest value tasks.
And I had this conversation yesterday with a business that has a marketing department that said, we want to do some reporting on our marketing and understand how our marketing is tracking, whether it's being effective. But they don't have any reporting now. But they don't know what they need. So then if you go and ask Claude, it'll probably tell you you've got all these things you can do. And you've got to figure out which one's actually
which one's of value
you need. But then do you set it up in a dashboard? Do you build a dashboard? Or do you just set it up so you can access the data and you can ask it questions? And it's trying to decide how not just the person building it is going to use it, but also the broader team.
The users.
Because that's a different scenario.
I had that exact conversation with Ben the other day about I'd said to him, I want to be able to connect this to Copilot, and the first thing he said to me is, what is it that you're trying to get out of it? Like, you can come to me and I can make those connections, but what is it that you're trying to get out of it? And eventually it was, I just want to be able to surface data. I don't need a dashboard. I don't need it to do anything for me. I just want to be able to ask it a question to say, what is this in relation to this? And it pulls the data from that particular piece of software, and I'm getting the information in my native environment, which is Teams. So Ben set up a little bot for me in my Teams, which I can now use without having to switch programs, and that is super cool for me. Very good time-saving little bot that sits there now, and those sorts of things are really cool to be able to do. But if I was going to do it myself, it probably would have taken me 30 hours to build it. And is the data really that important that I need to spend 30 hours to build it? So you got to, as a small business owner, have to sort of say to yourself, just calm down a little, because you can literally do anything.
You can get absolutely consumed.
It's a little crazy.
I've always had ideas of things that I've wanted to be able to build, but I can't write code. But that has been unlocked now. We're in an idea economy now where if you have an idea, you can put it to market very quickly, and you can try to test it or into the business and figure out whether it's providing value. But it's about choosing what makes the most sense. We had an example where I was on a call with a client going through a quarterly catch-up, and they said, how many of this laptop, because we had a lot of trouble with a particular model of laptop with the cameras, how many times has this happened? And you can just ask it while you're in the meeting, and it gives you the answer. So you've got quantifiable data that says this is what we think it is, and this is the people. So if we're going to replace some things, we can make a decision to do the people that have had the most problems. And it just makes that process a lot easier and a lot quicker, because now I don't have to go back and try to find a report and filter all the stuff and then communicate it back by email.
And that's what it is as well. It's sometimes you don't know what you need with the data until you need it. And you don't need a fancy dashboard or a big report or whatever. You just need to be able to ask a question of something. And I think that's such a cool thing that is coming with AI now, is that it's not necessarily about building something. It's about connecting the interfaces so that data can just be in accessible places where you can ask it a simple question and it'll give you an answer, which is so cool. If you were to think back on your time as a person who's involved in technology partnerships, without naming any names, is there a client that you can think of that you have started with the process and now all of a sudden it's like, wow, you use it as a case study for, other clients? Is there a client there that you can think of?
That's a tough question.
And if you don't have an answer, that's fine too.
Yeah, sometimes I think that we don't follow up enough to know what that wow thing is.
Yeah.
But it happens quite a bit. I can give you a small example from this morning, perhaps.
Yeah.
I was talking to one of our clients about how they're using their password manager.
Yep.
And just being able to know that they can put their 2-factor code in the password manager so it autofills for 0 was like, wow, that is going to save me so much time.
Yeah.
And it hasn't yet.
Yeah.
But they realise that every time they need to do that log on, they're going to save that time.
Yeah,
It might only be 20 seconds.
Yeah.
But every day,
counts.
But you still have to get your
5
phone
times a
out.
week.
And
Yeah, correct. So I think that those little wins are also really, really important. I think the big stuff is great too.
Yeah.
But the little wins.
It's not always about completely overhauling your networks or systems.
It's not boiling the
Sometimes
ocean,
there's little
right?
things.
Yeah. I think that can be very hard as well.
Yeah, exactly. There's so many things, right? You can't, from an IT perspective, there's so many things you could change about a business. You've got to try and find the higher, more valuable changes to make rather than that. But then sometimes also that low hanging.
Well, it's getting rid of the pain points. Yeah,
Exactly.
if there's pain points.
If 100 people are spending 20 seconds every time doing multi-factor authentication, then that is a significant cost to the business. And if you can save that 20 seconds by 100 people, that's a really big deal.
Yeah, and it's not particularly flashy.
Yeah,
but it's just a small thing that can help.
Yeah.
I do like that, by the way. That is a great feature.
Yeah, it saves me so much.
That's one
time.
of our things with our particular process, which you guys were instrumental in. I reckon this is a really good question.
So if you weren't working in technology, what would you think you'd be doing instead?
Laying on a beach in Florida or something.
Australian cricketer?
That would be nice. But I think there's this talent thing that you need to be able to do that. Yeah. So maybe, I don't know, to be honest. I never really thought about it.
Anything that you're passionate about outside of IT that you think that might have been a fun thing to do? Accounting?
Well, one of the reasons why we work with a lot of accountants is because I'm basically surrounded by them.
Yeah.
Both from...
What are you thinking?
Some of us just put ourselves into...
I caught up with some friends that we played in an indoor soccer thing years ago.
Yeah.
And they were all accountants that they went to uni together.
Yeah.
And that was the group that I hang out. I was the odd one out in IT. But
maybe they always knew that they would need an IT person.
Maybe. But the name of that team was the Bad Debts, which resonates. But it probably would be something in professional services that is working with businesses.
Yeah,
I think I don't know what that looks like, but
yeah,
because I sort of fell into IT out of high school and then after TAFE and then into business and so on. So I'd say now it's about working with businesses to provide that next thing, that value. So it'd be something in that space.
Yeah. And going back to the question of things that you enjoy doing outside of when you're in your work. Now, I send Matt a message at, 2 a.m. and he will respond at like 3 a.m. So I don't think there's a lot of spare time in your day. But what do you do in your spare time, Matt?
At the moment, Claude is a good friend of mine.
You're vibe coding.
Vibe coding. Yeah. I mean, spending time with the family. We've got 2 kids that are young as well, so we're in school holidays right now. And we're going through and we're doing a TV series at the moment.
Okay, what are you watching?
Young Rock.
Okay,
the kids are enjoying
it.
Yeah,
great.
Doing stuff like that. Cricket as well, local cricket. Definitely not at a competitive level.
Yeah. So batsman, bowler, wicket keeper. What's your role?
My role. I was going to say what I was good at.
Yeah,
or
what you
my role.
both. Both.
No, I've I used to be an all-rounder, but I've been more of a batter recently.
Okay.
Yeah. Gets a bit harder as you get older.
And the kids are playing cricket too?
Yeah, my son's been playing.
Yeah.
My daughter is thinking about it again.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Fun.
yeah, we'll see.
How do you go do the family come down and watch you? It's a long. Do you play 2020 cricket or?
No.
No. So it's a long.
They
weekend.
don't generally.
Yeah.
And usually when they do, I don't do well because I'm not focused. So we've gotten to a point now with some of the local cricket where they have what's called a frog box, which is a YouTube stream of the games. So they can watch those now.
Yeah.
There's always a lot of clips of the funny moments that are coming up on YouTube.
Yeah.
So they will generally follow it along there.
Yeah, cool. Because we've got a friend, one of our long-standing friends who still plays cricket, and we've watched a few of his, grand final games. Mostly, I'm not going to watch him, on a Saturday afternoon, but I've certainly watched a few. It's a long game, cricket, so it's not like the 45 minutes of Oz kick or something like that. So
no, it's certainly not.
Yeah.
Thankfully, the kids play T20 because it's actually a Friday night or 8 a.m. Sunday morning. And they're not pleasant.
8 a.m.
Oh,
Sunday
no.
morning.
Yes.
At least it's a summer sport though.
It is.
So it's not 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning in minus 3 degrees where there's I think the whole family element of it, the way you work your business, the way you connect with the community around you is one of the reasons why we love having our relationship with the team at QAMBA. The people that you manage to attract as IT providers are not the sort of people that are necessarily telling us to turn it off and on again. They're very caring and very kind and very patient with us on some of our more ridiculous inquiries or more, can you do this and can you attach this to this? And we really appreciate what you do for us, Matt, and your team. So thank you so much for coming in to talk to us today on Q&A with S&A. I'd love to have you come back and do some Plant Grow Reap episodes, or maybe some of the rest of the team who might be interested to come and talk to us about actual tech stuff, because we'd love to be able to share that with our audience as well in our Plant Grow Reap podcast. So if you can mention that, but obviously our marketing team will mention it to you guys as well. But thank you so much for coming in and having a chat with us today. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Q&A with S&A. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll be back with another episode soon. Thanks, Shane.
Thank you.
Matt.
Thank you.
Cheers.